Good afternoon, and welcome to part 7 of my embroidery slow stitching journal series. Yes, we are on part 7 already. It is really getting along quite well, and I hope that you are enjoying learning all of the embroidery stitches and working on page layouts for your slow stitching journals. This is actually our catch-up video so that we are back on schedule. So today I will be teaching 4 additional embroidery stitches only during this video. We're not going to go over anything else today, just going to get caught up on the embroidery stitches that we should be at this point. So we are back on schedule. And those stitches are going to be the circular roads, which is on page 14, the seed stitch, which is on page 50, the couching, which is on page 18, and the fishbone stitch, which is on page 28 of our little pocket handbook, embroidery stitches at a glance book, that those of you that have got this, that are following along, this is what we are using, and those are the page numbers that I will be referring to. You don't have to have this. You can use any embroidery stitch handbook that you may have, but this is the one I will always be referring to for the page numbers and the stitches that we are doing. So let me think. What else did I want to go over? Yes, we should be caught up and back on schedule after this video, so that we will be back on our Tuesday afternoon only schedule at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. We will have part 8 and part 9 left to go on the actual stitches. And then there will be a part 10 where we will go over how you put your slow stitching journal together after all of your pages have been stitched. There may be a bit of a time lapse between part 9 and part 10 to give you time to get your pages completed. But remember that we always do, for those of you that are in the private Facebook group, we do have our Zoom stitch days during the week so that you can all join in on that, work along on your pages. If you have any questions, need some inspiration, or just want to gather with some friends that are doing this stitch along also, and maybe some other projects, you are welcome to join in on that. We have a great time. So let us get right down to our stitches for this week, and we will go to the overhead camera for that. So let me switch over and hope that everything is still where it needs to be. There we are. And we are starting with the circular roads, which is on page 14 in your Stitches at a Glance embroidery book that we just went over. And I do have one of the stitches already done here. It is, I must say, not one of my favorite stitches. I think it is rather not one of the prettier stitches that are out there. I'm not sure exactly where it would come in for a lot of uses that I have seen anyway so far. Of course, this is done in a lot larger than what you would normally be doing it. So in a smaller circle, it can be more decorative. But for teaching purposes, we are doing it on a large grid so you can see. And we start out with a circle, of course. I have a few done here in preparation, but you would just have your circle the size that you want for your design drawn. And the first thing that you are going to do is you are going to outline that circle with a small split stitch. And I have done the majority of this one to save time, but just to give a reminder on how that is done, I will come up here. If I can get my hand in here and do a reminder and finish this off so you see how that is done. But we are coming through our previous stitch, and we are going right through the thread, splitting it. And that is why it is called a split stitch. So we are coming up in that stitch. I do have a rather long thread because it takes a lot of thread for this stitch, not the split stitch, but the circular rows. And then we are going down. And we don't want to catch our thread underneath there. I think I have my knot that I just pulled. I want to make sure we get that. And I'm pulling the wrong one. Okay, we'll get the correct one. So we get our knot back up there where it belongs. Kind of pulled that along with it. So then we are kind of doing like you do a back stitch. We're coming forward and then going. We are actually coming up in our stitch, excuse me, sorry. We are splitting that stitch and we are coming back down. And I am going the opposite direction of what it should be. Yes, so we'll come back down here. Then we will come back, split the stitch, the thread, which is our stitch, splitting it just as showed you on Tuesday. Forward until we complete our circle. Helps if you kind of hold that down to get your needle to come through that thread. Do a small stitch here so that we can end in our beginning stitch. Right through the middle of our thread. And we are going to end going through the middle of that very beginning stitch on our circle. So now we are ready to do the main part of our stitch. And to do that, we are going to start by coming up at the top here, halfway in the middle of our circle, and we are going to divide our circle now in two. So we're going to come up at the top, and we are going to go down on the outside of our split stitches. We are going to go down all the way at the bottom. And that has basically split our circle in half. You don't want to pull that too tight, but just taut. So then you're going to come up on the left-hand side of your top stitch. There on the left-hand side, close to it. And you're going to come down. Make sure again that you don't pull that stitch. You're going to come down on the right side of your bottom stitch. That is crossing over. And then you're just going to continue. You're going to come up always on the left-hand side at the top. Right-hand side at the bottom. And we're going to do that all the way around your circle until you get back to the beginning. You want them close, but not too close together. You're just going left, right is when you want to keep in your mind so that you don't mess up on the sequence of this. And I have a whole lot of fabric in my hand underneath here. Just going to continue in this stitch, because this is a large circle, does take quite a while to get around and a lot of thread. Let it down there. A lot of thread, and my stitches on top I see are a little farther apart than what I'm ending up on the bottom. So we're going to have to adjust that a little bit, or it's not going to come out even. Need to start spacing that a little bit farther on my bottom part. We're going to be around 1/2, a little quicker than the other. Whoops, I got caught on something and that made it pull. So I'm just going to stretch that back out there the way it belongs. Sure, I'm not caught on anything underneath there. So to correct that, I'm just taking my stitches now a little closer together on the top to make up for that, a little farther apart on the bottom, so that I get them more evenly spaced going around our circle. We have Whip down here trying to get my attention. You hear him bark in a second. I apologize. But he is wanting attention because I am talking to you instead of him. He gets jealous sometimes. I'm sure you can hear him right now. He likes to be vocal. And I'm only going to be able to take a few more stitches, and I am going to run out of thread. Oh, too close together on those bottom ones. Probably be the last one I get in. And I'm going to run out of thread, but I'm going to lay that down there, and you see how you just keep going around and around and around until you fill that entire circle. So it's not really that hard. It's just reminding that on the top, you're at the left, and on the bottom, you're at the right, so that you're always crossing over in the middle. Going to go to the back and finish off the thread back here. Oh, but I think that I did enough so you get an idea on how that stitch is done. We'll just continue. You will keep going all the way around, and you will end with your last stitch right next to that beginning stitch. And your circle will be filled like this one is. And that is the circular row stitch. So our next stitch is a very, very much used stitch in slow stitching. It is the seed stitch, and it is a background filler stitch. So that is one that is used a lot. And it is a very, very easy stitch. There's just 2 steps to it. It's like doing a couple straight stitches, but kind of over top of each other. And you just are randomly doing that throughout your background. I have a few marked on here just again for easier teaching purposes. And so you just will come making sure I've got fabric underneath here. I folded under. I want to make sure I don't catch that as I'm stitching. But you're going to come up at the beginning of your stitch. You can make these all different lengths. They're usually done rather rather small. You're coming up at the beginning of your stitch, going down at the end of your stitch, and then we'll do this in steps first, and then we'll do it without taking each step individually. But you're doing your first little straight stitch, and then you are going to come up at the bottom of that stitch, right below it. Thread there. And you're going to cross over the top and go right there where you ended it at the top. And you're just doing like a little double stitch diagonally coming up over the stitch that you just did. And that is a seed stitch. You can take it in any direction that you want to go. Come up here. Oops, hit the camera. Sorry. And we're going to go down. And this time, I'm going to just swoop my needle underneath. I'm going to come up below where my beginning stitch is. Pull that through. And then I can just take and go right at the top of that. And if I want to have another stitch close to that, I can also go in one step to go to the beginning of the next stitch if I wanted to. But you're just making little double stitches, like little seeds that haven't quite opened up yet. But you just do that randomly all over the background that you are trying to fill. It doesn't matter if you're spacing on that bottom and one that you're going back over the top is just a little bit different. It's okay. These are just fun little stitches to do. You can basically pretty much work in any direction that your hand will go. See, now I can come over and in that I can put another stitch over here. So I can just keep going. Very, very quick and easy stitch to do. And just kind of keep traveling on your background wherever it is that you need to go to fill it as little or as much as you want. And if you want to change color of your thread while you're doing that, you can do that also. Here, this stitch, you can just go in all directions. One of the more satisfying stitches to do because you really don't have to think about it. Look where you want to put a stitch and put it there. Before you know it, you have a nice area filled, especially when you're working on smaller projects. If you've got a fabric or something that you just know that it needs something on it, but you don't know what to do, this is a good stitch to just throw in there and go ahead and add it. It's a good one that you can use instead of a basting stitch too, to baste one of your patches of fabric down quickly. And you've already got a decorative stitch down. You don't have to worry about removing any basting stitches if you don't like your basting stitch. I leave some basting stitches in, some I take out. It all depends on where they end up on the fabric and what I end up doing around them. So I always kind of try and plan my thread so that it does blend if I decide that I want to leave it in. So you can have quite a conversation while doing this stitch because you really do not have to think about it. It's going back and forth, up and down, randomly on the background of your fabric. Go ahead and end that. But you have, get a hold of that up closer so you can get a close up on those. But very, very easy to do. And like I said, it's a fun one. Okay, that was our seed stitch. Now we are going on to our couching stitch. Let me get this out of my way and I will hold that up so that you can see that better. But here we have a thread that is going on a curve underneath, and we are stitching with little stitches over that to hold that down, and that is called a couching stitch. And I have the thread yarn that I'm using for that started over here, and we'll see. I don't know if I have enough thread on this needle or not, but we'll start out with it and find out, because this is also an easy stitch to do. It's just holding down that other one while you're stitching is a little hard, but this is where you would come up with your other thread, and you would just bring it up. You wouldn't have it going through the other part of the fabric there yet. I just did that so I didn't have to have it still threaded on the needle. But you are going to hold that along the curve or whatever you are couching down, and you are going to come up. Oops, wait a minute. And I forgot to tell you, did I tell you that the seed stitch was on page 50? I'm sorry. The couching stitch is on page 18 in your book. I'm just going to make sure I come up on the right side of that. But so you've got your yarn or whatever it is, fancy thread or something. Sometimes you have a string of beads or something that you may want to couch down. But so you come up with that first. You have your knot on the back, and you're going to lay that along your pre-drawn or whatever curve or whatever it is that you want to decorate. Trying to figure out where I'm going to put where I'm going to be able to put my hand in here to get at this. Because I have to have more than one. I have to be able to hold that yarn down. Okay, there we are. But we are going to come up with our other thread that we are going to use for the couching on the right-hand side of our couching yarn. And then we're just going to go right over to the other side. And then we are going to come up not far away on the other side of that. Underneath that, coming up so that we're ready to do our next stitch. And we're just going over that and holding it down in middle stitches. My hand is at a weird, I'm going to turn this because my hand is at a weird angle here. Work better if I'm going this direction. So we're just going right over what we are couching, coming up on the other side. We're going to try and keep those stitches straight and even as you are doing that. It's just holding it down, and you're making sure that you keep it on your design curve or whatever it is that you are doing. Just basically tacking that down with some straight little stitches. And Whip's back up here talking again. I'm sorry. He's going to keep you entertained for a while as you watch this very, very simple technique for couching. I didn't call him Stitches, did I? Stitches is in the house. We are getting ready to have some bad storms in our area. Not far away, they were just having 70-mile-an-hour winds. So it is headed our direction. So I'm hoping to get this video done before they arrive. Because if we have 70-mile-an-hour winds, chances are we may lose power. But as you can see, this is also a very, very easy stitch. Just continuing to go around and not pulling too tight, always checking to make sure you're still on your whatever design it is that you are couching, because you can do curlicues, circles, everything with couching. I use rickrack. I will couch that down a lot of times, just going over the zigged part. Sorry about that. Fabric kind of got in the way there. And now underneath here, I'm going to pull that other end, this, so it's on my line, so it's tight now, and I know I have enough to cover the area that I am couching it down to. Oops, at the door. I guess he wants out. He's going to have to wait. Almost to the end. stitch just to make sure I got that end held in there. Sorry, it keeps flopping over in your way, doesn't it? So we're just going to go straight down to the back. Make sure we've got our other thread out of the way. And fasten our thread off on the back there. Couch down, it's not going anyplace, so I'm just going to leave it end and cut that excess yarn off there. Turn this back around, and there you have your couching stitch. And our final stitch is called the fishbone stitch, very often used on leaves. So I have some leaves drawn here, and you want to have a line going down the middle of your leaf for this stitch. Some thread. I'm using a lot longer strand of thread than I would normally use, just because these stitches seem to take a lot, and I'd prefer not to have to stop and rethread the needle while I'm showing you the stitch. So try not to use this long a thread. It can easily tangle on you and cause problems that way, but okay. So our fishbone stitch is found on page 28 in your book. Turn to that real quickly. Just in case I get stuck and forget something. But we've got our outline of our leaf here. See that this is what we are going for. I have a tendency to always go closer together on one side than the other on my stitches. I need to work on that. But you are going to come up on your middle line to start, just down a ways from the top. And then you're going to go straight up and in the point. And at the same time, you are going to come then down from that just a little ways, not too far, on the outside of your leaf shape. So that's right there on the outer edge of that. And you are going to come back down right below your stitch that you came up in, and you are going to come up on the other side of your center, following along on your drawn outer line of your leaf. That all the way through. And you just keep alternating, because you're going to go down at the middle, below where you came, and then you are going to come up just a little bit away. Oops. On your line, which as I went to look to see that it was in the view, I pulled my needle back out. On the other side, just make sure that you always keep alternating back and forth. And back down at the middle. Other side. Needle doesn't always want to go where you want it to go. All right, come on. Close enough. Going right next to your other stitch, leaving a little bit of a gap. Down at the middle, back up at the other side. And if you have ever filleted a fish or seen a filleted fish, this is what the bones look like left behind. And that, I think, is how this stitch got its name, because it looks like the bone left after filleting a fish. Just keep alternating. You'd be holding that at a little different angle if I wasn't holding this underneath the camera. Always looks a little more awkward than what it is, because this is not the way I would be holding. There we go. See, I'm doing a lot better on my, the one side is still farther apart than the other. I don't know why that is. Guess it's the way my brain works. I have to work on getting them both spaced the same. Some reason I spaced that left side stitches closer together than I do on the right side. I want them to be the same. Oops, come on. None of these stitches have really been what I would call difficult. Just know that I myself just do not like the circular roads stitch. Not so much that it's difficult to do. I just do not like the finished appearance of the stitch, and that's okay. We don't have to like all the embroidery stitches that there are out there. And there may be something we're doing at some point in time that will go, what can I get to get that shape? And then you'll go, oh, I know, that circular road stitch. And we wouldn't normally have blue leaves either, but that is the color theme that I'm going for this stitch sampler. So that's why they are in this color. You can see I'm down farther along on the one side than I am the other side. And that's because the little stitches on that side are a little closer together. We're going to go up and make this one a little closer. Try that here. I can get this side brought up with the other side. Going to run out of space on our bottom, and we're not going to be done with that other side yet, which is okay. We can fix that. Up. We're going to take our point a little farther down. Get that last stitch there. But there, that is the fishbone stitch. And like I said, if that was done in green and on a leaf, you would get the effect of that a lot better. It wouldn't look like a fishbone, it's going to look like a leaf. So, it's off on the back here. And cut it off. Oh, here. Bring that up. There is the fishbone stitch, couching stitch, seed stitch, fun one. That one is one you can just sit there and think of who knows what while you're stitching away. And then our circular roads stitch, which when I have done this one before, I end up putting a button on the middle of that because I just do not like the appearance of that stitch. So we are coming quite along on our embroidery grid. Of course, yours is not as large as this one, but this I will have to hang up and always have a nice reference in the stitching cottage to refer back to and use as decor in here and have as a sample going on. So, but here you have all all of the stitches for this part 7. And I'm going to come back up here real quick. There we are. But so for the this week and until Tuesday, you can work on those stitches, catch up if you need to catch up, and take some extra time to work on your layouts and at least trying to get them all basted down. So they're basted down and you can start working on your decorative embroidery stitches and getting that work done, because that work is going to take a little bit longer than what you have been doing on just the laying out of them, the basting of them, and your embroidery stitches that we have been learning along the way. And that's why I say you might want to come to some of those Zooms so you can get some of that work done, because just as the name is slow stitching, it is slow stitching. So, but however, it is very therapeutic and soulful stitching takes place when you spend that time doing those decorative embroidery stitches. That's when you find out the joy of slow stitching and how peaceful and meditating and connecting it can be. So that is everything that I have for you for this catch up part 7. So now we are back on schedule, and our next video for part 8 will be on Tuesdays, our regular time for this stitch along at 4 o'clock in the afternoon is when the premiere is. If you want to be in the live chat, you can always catch the replay at any time. So thank you, everyone. Again, if you have any questions or suggestions or just anything you'd like to comment on, leave that in the comments and I will get back with you. I try to be fairly quick on getting to all of those and answering your comments with a reply. So thanks, everyone. Have a great week. If you are in the storm area, stay safe, stay weather aware. And in the meantime, remember, I can keep you in stitches. Bye-bye, everyone.